So, for this week, the plan is to finish off Chapter 5, at least what we're going to cover. 5.5 is left for you if you want to work on that, with 5.3 and 5.4. Where 5.3 is a very natural extension of what we did in 5.1 and 5.2, where, I guess, more appropriately, it is flipping what we did in 5.1 and 5.2. Where instead of taking the values we're given and try to find areas or probabilities, we are going to find values given areas of probabilities, which is a thing that uses what's called an inverse function that we're going to see in there. But the main thing here is whether we're dealing with stuff with z-scores and standard normal, or x values and more broadly defined normal, going in the opposite direction of what we have done to this point in Chapter 5. And then we're going to finish with what we really are going to be getting here for Chapter 5 with the central limit theorem in section 5.4. And the central limit theorem might be the most important, the single most important result in modern probability theory, but we're not going to do all that much in terms of detail for how it works. It takes some pretty advanced machinery to truly understand what that says and how it operates, but for our purposes, we're going to focus mostly on what it gives us in terms of general behaviors of samples. So we're going to recontextualize some of the things we've seen up to this point, introducing ideas of sample means and standard errors, and then use the central limit theorem to look at sample size behavior, sample mean behavior, rather than just single distribution, single data set behavior. But that sounds probably very strange. We'll see what that looks like in practice once we get into that section. So for this week, we've got fairly normal things to handle, albeit with one real adjustment, where we have our worksheet for the week, and this is a fairly important one to get some of these ideas down. Then, from there, we have deadlines in MyLab for next week with 5.3 and 5.4. And hidden in there as well, I'm going to mention it just so you guys remember, we have our feedback survey. It's going to be due on Friday. That opened up last week. And then, finally, we have our next pre-assessment for week 9, moving us into Chapter 6. That is going to be due next Monday. We're back on a more normal schedule now for the next couple of weeks. Anyway, let's get in here and finish off Chapter 5 with a couple of fairly important, one very important sections as we move on further into uses of the normal distribution.